What's going on, beautiful people? Thank you for returning back to my channel, The Root Wave. In this episode, I have Annie. Annie, please say hello to us and tell us how we can find you, please.
Hey guys, my name's Annie Legnini. You can find me on Instagram at legniniart. I also have Bronx Faces, just at Bronx Faces, and my website is www.legniniart.com.
Well, I really appreciate you being on the channel. As we spoke before, we were mentioning how I was following you on my personal page, and I figured once I started doing this, I wanted to reach out because the project that you were doing that really caught my attention was the Bronx Faces that you just mentioned. I'm not going to be able to do it any justice. If you wouldn't mind just telling us what what the concept of the artwork was about, and the reaction that you got from it as well.
All right. So it's like that's
okay.
a lot. So Bronx Faces is a collaborative community art project that pairs mixed media portraits and the lived experiences of Bronx natives through their own lens. So it's like a storytelling project. This project started back in the summer of 2016. It started right after I graduated from college, and I was becoming like very prideful of being from the Bronx after like growing up not really feeling that way. I was always kind of seeing the Bronx as a place that I needed to like escape from, or I needed to get out or something, and then got super prideful in college, super proud to come from my home, and then had to humble myself and say, all right, like, this is great that you're super proud, but what do you truly know about your home outside of your neighborhood? So like, I'm from Morris Park. My family's from Arthur Avenue, so I was there all the time. I know these neighborhoods really well. What else do I know outside of like just exploring there every once in a while? So the project started with me asking my close friends who grew up in different neighborhoods than me, so like Parkchester, Gun Hill, just about their home. And I was like, hey, what's a good place that I can go to eat around there? And then I'm going to explore from there.
Right.
So it started with like, where can I go to eat? And then after I asked a couple of people, I was like, you know, this is kind of a cool idea. Since I'm asking this question already, just about food, I should throw in like, well, what do you like about your neighborhood? Like, what outside of restaurants can I know about your neighborhood? And then it just grew from there. On Instagram, I put an open call on Instagram and on Facebook, and I met people through this project. The project kind of like grew on its own, and up until a couple of months ago, I actually had to cap it at 100 participants, just to ensure that everyone's portrait is done in a timely manner, because I have done 28 so far, and that took me 2.5 years. So I just respect everyone's time and everyone's patience and make sure that your story is seen and heard, you know? And the reaction from people has been really great. I think people really enjoy seeing themselves and seeing not only their own faces, but their friends, their family, their own language, unedited. Like, I don't edit anyone's response. I may combine a couple of answers that I really like. And I think that's really powerful in itself. Even people who aren't from the Bronx are like, yo, I know this guy. This guy looks like my friend. That's like really cool too. Something that strikes me a lot is I'll have other artists around me looking at my work, and they'll say, are these real people?
Right.
And that's a weird question to hear, and it's kind of jarring, because it's like, yeah, they're real people, you know, like, I'm not, and I know that it's an innocent question. It's like, are you just making these faces up, or are they real? It's like, yes, they're real, and they deserve to be seen and heard, and they're...
Well, let's follow up on a couple things, because before I forget this point, I kind of felt that same way when I saw your Bronx Faces art. I was kind of like, whoa, like it's so well made that you're almost like, is this real, or it's like a real person? So I was never sure, but then I'm like, that has to be right, because you must have been inspired, and then you have their names, and I think their year of birth. Is that what that is?
Yes. Yeah. The title is their name, their birth year, and not only seeing a face on a story, but the name and story, it has context. It's like, all right, they were born at this time and in this location, and if you identify with more than one neighborhood, I don't care. Like I'll add both of them because most people have lived in like a couple of different places or identify with a few different neighborhoods, so that's fine too.
Right.
Just gives it a little more context.
Right. So, another thing that you mentioned earlier was about not being proud about where you were from and then realizing that. I feel like I'm going through the same thing, and it took me. I mean, I was always proud, but it was like a different type of proud. It's weird. There came a point of being proud, then not being proud, then a lot of defending of the Bronx, then a lot of like, oh, I give up on the Bronx, and then now, at this point, I'm like, this is amazing because I feel like we're going into like a Renaissance era, and I feel like at the same time the Bronx is going through some type of change, call it whatever you want to call it, gentrification, whatever. But I feel like my theory was always that the Bronx is going to do it the best. And I think now that I've come back to the Bronx, because I actually moved out of the Bronx for a couple of years, but when I came back to the Bronx, I was just so proud. Like I walked back into the Bronx, and I'm living here now for a couple of years, but I'm like, there's so much going on compared to when I was growing up. Especially like the art space, I'm seeing the businesses that are growing in the Bronx, the people in power that are trying to push the movement of the Bronx to not only help business owners, but also just the talent and the art that's in the area. It just seems like lately the Bronx has been popping, even through music and culture. Just like we're getting like that resurgence again of being like the spot, right? Um, what um, what makes you think that at some point you weren't proud, and then at some point you actually became like extra proud about it again?
Um, well, before I lose my thought,
Uh-huh.
I think something that's important to highlight is that the talent and this energy and resiliency has like always been here. It's just like a
Right.
matter of like who's choosing to showcase it now,
True.
which can be really annoying. Um, and knowing like, all right, who is showcasing this and like who is this serving? I think that's also very important to recognize
Hmm.
and be wary of. Sorry, I just wanted to like get that out of the way before
No,
like
no, yeah.
answer this question because it's like a different question. So wait, remind me of what I'm saying, like why I wasn't proud, and
Right. So
then
at some point you
when
felt
that.
right, right. Like what, and I'm sure that came out through your art as well, right? Like that just that's kind of where the Bronx Faces also came from, the fact that you wanted to showcase that. So, what do you think culturally or artistically what was going on with the Bronx that made you feel like that were yourself, and now what's the difference compared to then?
Um, just maturing and like
Right.
looking around and seeing how brilliant my community is, and like I don't need
Right.
to look for it in Manhattan. Like I went to
Right.
an art high school in Manhattan, and I was like one of only like a few. I went to LaGuardia. Shout out to LaGuardia. There were only a few Bronx kids that I knew. The school was big, um, and I always like mention this in interviews too. Like there was one teacher who was like who would always like shit on the Bronx. Like sorry if I can't curse on this, but
No, no, you can.
at one point like I remember, and it was me and like two other Bronx kids like in the class, and like he had no idea. Um, he talks about like teaching the animals up in the Bronx and
Oh
like talking.
wow.
Yeah, and we just like locked eyes across the room. We're like, nah.
Nah.
So there's just like this narrative about like the Bronx being this terrible place,
Right.
and the animals come from there, or whatever it is, and like the media definitely paints it that way as well. And it's just this this being reinforced throughout your life, and then hearing like your friends say that, like, I want to get out of here one day, and you kind of think maybe I should too, and
Right.
um, it's terrible. And like there are certainly things that we can improve here and things that need to be worked on, but we need to identify like, all right, well, why is it like this as well? Let's not just like place blame or say, this place is bad
Hmm.
without context. Like that's not fair. And then it was actually I felt this way that I wasn't like so proud, or I wasn't like going out of my way to highlight where I came from
Right.
until college. I went to college at Fordham, and Fordham doesn't have a lot of Bronx kids either.
Hmm.
And I was at the Bronx campus. I lived there. So people definitely didn't think I was from the Bronx. So I feel like I heard a lot too.
Hmm.
And I met like so many like brilliant and kind people at Fordham, but there was a lot of shit that happened there and a lot of clashing between the community. community and the students, and wasn't always super respectful, like on the students' part, and that got me really, really angry,
Mm.
like a lot, and it came to a head during my senior year there, and um, that's when I became like Bronx, and I feel like every other word, I feel like I had a like a neck vein at all times. I was just screaming about the Bronx at any chance that I could on campus because like yo, like it was just
Yeah, no, I get it. Yep.
it's just very frustrating. And then I was like, you know what? Like you're telling all these students who are not from the Bronx, like not from this area, to like go out and be respectful and like learn about the Bronx outside of Arthur Avenue.
Right.
But what are you doing? You know, like you should take your own advice. And that's literally how Bronx Faces came about.
Yeah.
Because I need to humble myself and I need to do that homework myself.
Mm.
And homework is never done. Like you're never done learning and you're
Right.
never done hearing from people and learning from your community.
Hmm. Now, what's I don't know anything about the art space in regards to the city, even the Bronx. What what's going on there? Like, what are you seeing that's like super interesting or like over the top or something amazing that's happening? Any like experiences or even people that we need to check out and support as well? Not just only you, but maybe some of the people that were like, hey, we need to look into them.
In the art scene,
Yeah.
I've found a home like within the past year at Con Artists. Shout out to Con Artists in the Lower East Side. They're like a really great space for emerging artists or
Hmm.
just artists in general. They're really great. They offer free workshops if you're a member, opportunity to show art every single week. I recommend as many people down there as I can because I think that they really try to take care of their people. But then shout out to the people who are doing like DIY events and spaces like up here in the Bronx as well and like all across the city. Um, I've I feel like I haven't shown with people in so long outside of Con, but I've shown with Hydropunk, I've shown with Generation Y, who are
Mm.
they're just like great community activists. And yes, um, that's who I've worked with personally, and I just have like art crushes on people from afar as well. I can give you like the handles of some people. I don't want to start naming people and then I leave out a million because
Yeah.
that's what's absolutely going to happen. I can give you like a laundry list of just incredible artists, and then if you could just edit that over my face right now, that would be
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. I will. No problem.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing. What inspires you to actually pick up and do some work on a certain day? Because I'm guessing as an artist, you have to be inspired or have some type of I don't know, something in your head that's just bothering you. Like, hey, I got to pick up the brush and do it. But that doesn't always happen. What gets you in the mood, and what inspires you to actually put some work into that art for that day? Let's say.
It's just always there. Like that's such a
Yeah.
cliche. It's like I made the choice. Like I've always been obsessed with art, and I definitely have like my mental block days, but it's less mental block, more like I feel like my hands are broken and I can't paint today. So it's like the urgency is like always there, and I need to do something, but it's a matter of like whether or not I guess like some days I just can't paint, and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
Um,
Does that last a long time or no?
when I get in my head and I get discouraged, that's really it. The biggest killer to my motivation is just thinking that I'm not good enough and like my art isn't good and I suck and I'm not talented. Why am I trying? What's the point? Da, da, da. And then you're gonna stand in your own way. But I have too many ideas. I have too many things that I'm working on. I'm obsessed with my ideas and I'm
Mm-hmm.
obsessed with getting them out. And it's exciting and that's really motivating. But sometimes I can also stress myself out with that
Right.
and I can just collapse. So it's a hard. That's actually like a hard question because yeah, like the motivation is always there, but insecurity gets in the way, and just all these different things get in the way, or like time, space, like needing to make a living, like money.
Right.
So
There's always like a tug of war of duality going on, right? With
it's
creativity and all the other stuff that I guess we have to live with.
yeah,
Do you listen to any particular music while you're working?
yeah.
What do you got?
Lately, I feel like I've been working on commissions lately, and I've been kind of struggling with some commissions. So I haven't been doing like my own personal, like I haven't been doing Bronx Faces, I haven't been doing um, my own personal work. So I've been doing a life-size Frank Ocean, and I've listened to like a lot of Frank Ocean.
Hmm.
But with these commissions in particular, now that I'm not doing Frank right now, I've listened to like a lot of hype music,
Hmm.
and like a lot of stuff that I like used to listen to back in like 2015, like Danny Brown and um, ASAP Rocky, like old
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
And then I just really got into Anderson .Paak's like new album, Oxnard's Mad Good.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I have so much on shuffle right now. I'm like Mac Miller. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
just a few. So.
Anyone from the Bronx?
Um, yes. Am I blanking again?
You got
Uh,
Cardi B on there too?
um, uh, oh, I've been listening to Sasso. Sasso's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Sasso's EP is really good.
Hmm.
That's actually on my hype list. So.
Yeah, nice. Um, Another thing that you're talking about before was your insecurities, and I think for me, I always like to touch upon on these interviews, especially people who are inspirational, because I know a lot of us are parents, and we come across our children that are creative, and a lot of us don't know what to do with that. So, from your point of view, growing up artistic and having that talent and then developing it, what's a good way, or what's some advice that we can give a parent that may see their child picking up the brush, or expressing themselves artistically somewhere, and how do you help them manifest that to the greatest and the highest level that they can achieve?
No, there's like no one right answer, and I guess that's the
Right,
point.
right.
I was around it, uh, not so much, but my parents were graphic designers, so I had like that element of it. But as far as like being in museums and stuff, like I just wasn't.
Hmm.
It all came from art class in school, and sometimes art class would like get cut, and we wouldn't have art. So with me, I feel like I just like was really obsessed with it, but I think for parents, like expose them to as much as you can, like just exposure. And art books are incredible too. Just seeing something can be life changing. I was reflecting on, like, I think Jerry Sauce posted something on his Instagram that was talking about the first work of art that you've ever seen, and what that did to you, like the biggest impact that it had on you. And like that really got me reflecting on my early days as like the young artist. And it was just a Frida Kahlo painting, like self portrait that I saw in the back of my art class. So it's just as simple as like seeing something. But I think it's so important to like, bring them into galleries and go gallery hopping in Chelsea at Lower East Side. Like it's free, and
Hmm.
there's always something new to see. There's always some event going on, especially if you're in New York City. Like there's always something.
Right, a lot of art.
And not only don't expose them to just one form of art. Like you can be moved by music, by singing, by dancing, everything. Expose them to as much creativity as humanly possible.
Hmm.
Like my future kids will be suffocated by it, and they'll probably hate it all. Like that'd be
Which is the irony of life sometimes, because that
yeah,
happens, right?
that'll totally happen with me.
Yeah, right.
I'm
So
not
what's
gonna-
what's in the future? What's going? What are you working on that you want to discuss with us? And then what future visions or dreams are you looking at as far as your artistic career?
These are the questions. See, I have one project that I'm particularly obsessed with, and I've been obsessed with it for the past year. Like I've had it in mind for the past year, and I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for, because I try to give the same amount of respect to all of my art and
Hmm.
all my art projects. So that's why I'm taking such a long time with Bronx Faces because I'm like, while I want to get these done as quickly as possible, I'm making sure that each portrait gets the time and effort that they all individually deserve. But I have other projects that I want to do and other things that I get passionate about. So I've been sitting on this one idea for about a year, and I've already picked out my participants. I need to take reference shots, and it's just another passion project. I want to like talk about without giving too much away, but I'm
No,
just
that's
really
fine. Yep.
excited about it. It's just about it's about these moments that you have with yourself and you don't show to the world.
Mm.
And these moments that are absolutely hyper private. And what does that look like? And that's the most that I can say.
That's
Right? It's like
goosebumps.
really cool. And like that's all I really give a shit about, like with art too. That's my future too, is just like what do these moments look like? Like I don't care about like this topical, superficial
Right.
bullshit. Like I'm interested in like the meat and fucking potatoes of
Yes. The rawness, right?
like yeah, raw is like that's my shit. And I feel like Bronx Face is a great it I love reading all the stories because you really get these raw moments with people, but I want to just go a little deeper. That's
Right.
all.
Right.
Um, And I've also, this isn't really related to like that deeper moment, but I've just been like so inspired by other Instagram artists as well, like Joel Ria and like Jeremy Geddes, I think is how you pronounce his name. His handle is Jeremy is Painting.
Hmm.
These like incredible hyper realistic artists, and I've been really inspired by them. And I woke up at like, I couldn't sleep at like 2 in the morning the other night, and I like sketched out three crazy ideas that I
Hmm.
want for a whole separate series. I don't know where I have all this time to do all of these projects, but
But you're
I,
passionate, so you make right.
there's
It's
not
like
enough time.
yeah, yeah, no. What do you think might where our art may be like in 10, 15 years? Any type of like and I'm asking as like a total noob when it comes to art because I'm into creativity. I'm very creative, but I'm also more heavy into like business and all that type of stuff. So I can tell you, hey, I can look at a company and say 10 years from now I can see this just based on what I'm looking at now, right? So what you looking at the art scene now and what's happening? If you want to talk about art in general, or even just in the Bronx or in the city, where do you see it like 10 years from now?
I still feel like I'm such a baby in the art world, or like I feel like I'm still trying to figure out the art world because the
Right.
art world is just weird and exhausting and kind of
Overcomplicated by any chance?
what?
Overcomplicated by any chance? When it comes to certain, because I feel like art isn't art just in general. And I don't mean art necessarily like painting or anything. Just art and creativity. Isn't that supposed to be like you said, just raw, but also flowing? And then sometimes
Yeah,
there's a lot of like BS that's just like I don't know. It's like corruption, right? That's just like
it's just like something. This is what I'm currently struggling with, just like trying to make a career out of art and trying to not get discouraged so easily.
right,
Is in school you learn how to paint, you learn all these different techniques and whatever, and how to become a master like at what you do. But you don't learn how to survive. Like you don't learn like this is what it means to be an artist. This is how you approach a gallery. This is how you uh, do your website. Like this is just shit that you got to figure out. Like if you're really about it, and there's no textbook for it. There's no rule book. So I'm just trying to figure out like the whole gallery scene, and like it's weird and weirdness is the wrong word, but just I don't know if it's complicated. I feel like I'm not I haven't been in it long enough. I've only been taking this seriously for the last like seriously for the last like year. So I still feel like I'm figuring it out. But in terms of just art in general, um, there are days that I'm really discouraged
hmm
about the future of art, and I just get really worried about. I don't know. Like I've seen so many of my favorite galleries like get shut down or just like leave New York. Um, but I've also seen DIY spaces and people making their own shows in their own places. Like my first solo show was at a library
Mm,
because get the art out, who cares?
right.
Um, Instagram is also really changing the game as
Hmm.
well. Like uh, there are artists who sell directly through Instagram DMs and like may not really need a gallery. Like our gallery is still necessary. Like I don't know. So there are a lot of new things that are happening, and this is like a really interesting time right
Hmm.
now. So I don't really know. Maybe if you ask me in like a few months or like in another year, I may kind of see where it's going, but I still feel like I'm figuring it out, and I I'm trying to find my own place in the world, like the art world, or
Right.
maybe I just want to be in it. And I don't know. Like
Well, you mentioned that we're in a crazy time, right? So,
to
even
say,
though,
say the least. Yeah.
yeah, even though you haven't been in it a long time, do you feel like somebody might come in and fuck it all up, and not in a bad way, but just like flip the script, and 10 years from now, everything is totally different?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like they're already here. They're around us. Like
Right.
these change makers, these people who are shaking shit up, like they are here.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like them getting the and like uh, I get so tongue tied when I talk about this because I don't have the answers and I don't know what I even need or want.
Right.
Just a matter of be like the right place, the right time, or the right person sees you, and yeah, frustrating to talk about, but
Hmm.
um, there's so much potential,
Oh my
and
God. Yeah.
I try to focus on that instead of like getting discouraged and like, oh, but I'm not in this space, or this is the way it's always been, so I need to do it this way. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people now in life are kind of discovering themselves, and a lot of people are like, "Yo, I don't have to do as it was. I'm gonna do things different and better, or flip the script and change the game." So, I mean, I definitely see that too. I mean, Instagram has been huge. That's how I found you. That's how we are here today.
yeah,
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 it's huge. It's huge.
it's
It's such a game
crazy.
changer. Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah,
and no, and I think that's what has given like that overall energy of creativity, that overall energy of just art and expression just coming out of like the pores of all these people, including people in the Bronx. You know, I felt like that was a big thing for them. Like that whole social media movement to be like, hey, we're here, we're still here, and we're doing our thing.
yeah. I've connected with so many groups like because of Instagram, and I've met so many artists because of Instagram. So I know people can be like, "Oh, I hate social media, this is that," but I mean, like, it's great. Like,
It's a
just seeing,
tool.
like,
It's a
yeah,
tool.
exactly. It's however you use it, and that's just it. It's how you use it.
Yeah. Well, Annie, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being on the channel. This was
Thank you.
awesome. I would have never thought it, but it's just crazy because sometimes maybe you agree with this, but if you really feel it and thinking it'll happen, and now that I got an opportunity to speak to you, that's like amazing because I'm that type of person. When I see things, I'm like, I got questions. I need somebody to answer them. So I really appreciate it. It's very awesome. Your work is fascinating, and
Thank you.
I wish you a lot of luck. I do ask a lot of my guests if they can just leave us with some type of, I don't know, something, a motivational anecdote, so that way whoever's watching may say thank you for what you're doing and what you just said. So if you wouldn't mind, please.
Um, oh no.
Because you trust me, when you watch this, you're gonna be like, "Man, I was inspirational the whole time." But let's leave it with a
I
cherry
got
on
it.
top. There you go. You see?
Okay. Something that's really important, especially in the art game. Um, this is like necessary in the art game, or else just give up right now. Is you need to be in it for the long haul, and if you're not, then give up right now. Um, because you'll be chewed up and spit back out. It's so easy to get discouraged. Like you can have a really great lucky streak. Like a few months ago, I was having back to back success. I seemed to be getting accepted to whatever I submitted to, and I was getting super cocky. And then the past few months, like I got three rejections back to back and missed a deadline for something really important. And I'm discouraged now. And with every rejection, it's like, okay, take that on the chin and apply to the next thing, because you never know. I got rejected from something one year, and the next year I reapplied to that same open call, and I got it. So it's all about just like being committed, being consistent, having that same, just approaching everything with that same tenacity, but also being gentle to yourself. And, you know, if you need to take a break, that's fine. I think it's necessary because this will drive you crazy. So make time for yourself, make room for yourself. It's okay to be upset, it's okay to be frustrated, but just remind yourself that you're in this for the long haul. And you got it. And like, get art friends, like reach out to your community, talk to each other, because no one knows what the hell is going on and like how to do this. So we're our biggest, you know, supporters. Like, we gotta show up for each other, and fuck it, we don't need Chelsea, we'll make our own shows.
Right.
Like,
I like that. Well, anything.
I'm not mad if Chelsea wants to.
Life is just bigger than Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like, you can't get discouraged so easily. Like, just keep telling yourself, I'm in this for the long haul. I had to do that a few times this week, not even this month. So
yeah, it's been crazy times. Yeah.
Be gentle to yourself.
Yeah, and self-care, right? That was a great point. Balance. All about balance. All right, well, Annie, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you wouldn't just tell us one more time where we can find you, please.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at legniniart or Bronx Faces. And you can also find me on my website, www.legniniart.com, and you can send me a message through my Gmail from there.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And to my audience, please check out her work. It's very fascinating, inspiring, and it's awesome. Support so that way she can have a career in this long term. Trust, it's worth it. So thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you around in the next episode. Peace.